chip start from Steinhausen with a clear track ahead of him. Streaks up the inside. Now, did he get ahead of team leader Webster? And I think they both did. And Klaffenbach somehow gets the drive to come through into the lead. So the first crucial move is made by Klaus Klaffenbach. Klaffenbach in the lead on the Klaffenbach racing machine, probably inspired by the appearance on the grid of the fabulous Gina Wild, the OKM lady, his main sponsor, of course, and she was there in all her blonde and resplendent beauty in a scarce-fitting black swimming costume. He's the one at the front, but Webster trying to get alongside him, and Steinhausen is there as well. Now remember, Klaffenbach and Steinhausen actually came to blows after the race that dramatic climax last weekend, and I think Klaffenbach really felt like the injured party. It certainly looked like that to me. He seemed to me to be on the racing line. And so Steinhausen probably had said, oh, it was just an emotional upset on his behalf, probably therefore intimating his guilt in the whole operation. Klaffenbach then leads, but for how long? Steve Webster in second place, and the rest of the boys surging through. And Tom Hanks and Paul Simons have got an atrocious start. They were on the third row of the grid, having contested Super Pole, and they're way, way back down the field, not where they expected to be or hoped to be at all. Now, the main thing to do in this mix-up, wow, they are way down. They must have got a shocking start. I wonder what the secret is to getting these machines off the start, Rob. Whatever it is, then Tom Hanks didn't find it that time around.
A combination of clutch control and trying not to spin the rear wheel is that, and also keeping an eye on somebody who might be in front of you, not moving at all.
And I've just completely, done him complete wrong, because he's right there in fourth place. I've mixed him up with another blue outfit. Please, Tom Hanks, do forgive me. Right there in fourth place, because remember, he was showing very, very strongly throughout the race at Assen until the machine packed in. Here he is in fourth place. So far from not getting a good start, he's got a blinder. Okay, slap on the wrist for Jack as Stevie Webster tried to go round the outside of Klaus Klaffenbach and cut back inside. Has he made it stick? No, Claffy comes across him, but all the time he's under pressure, heated pressure. And that amazing man, Paul Woodhead, he's a strong boy, surviving 5 minutes of unconsciousness and a fair old battering last weekend. I've noticed that when he's riding around on his paddock scooter, he can't straighten his left leg, Rob. I presume that's something of a legacy.
Oh, well, we'll forgive you that pun, Jack, but yes, Paul on the way to the Clinica Mobile, riding along with his legs stuck right out in the airstream, took virtually all the skin off his knee in that real bouncing session that was last week's penultimate, start of the penultimate lap at Assen. But adrenaline, that unique drug to us all, as Webber goes through to take the lead on the brakes at the Shell hairpin. And
Jörg Steinhausen follows him, because Steinhausen now regards himself as being pretty much the equal of the 8-time champion elect, and he's going to go after Stevie Webster. And Tom Hanks, and this tight and twisty circuit, is managing to hang in there with Klaffenbach and threaten the dominance of the top three. And behind him we've got the wonderful former world sidecar motocross champion Benny Janssen, with Trevor Hopkinson in the chair. And look at that, a charged up Klaffenbach, red mist, as red as that OKM machine, comes down, and he blitzes back into second place. Tom Hanks, Benny Janssen threatening, yet another threatening retirement at the end of this year, Rob, because he thinks it's too much hassle to change to a 4-stroke machine. Well, we know that Klaffenbach did that and changed his mind, so let's hope that Benny Janssen also has second thoughts, because right now he's a strong fifth in this race.
Quite an intimidating and daunting task to leave behind all the experience and knowledge you've got from a two-stroke development, two-stroke racing, and then effectively start from scratch again with 4 strokes, and all the things you've got to learn about settings and the geometry, getting the thing handling right, and so on and so on and so on. But I think that once they've had just about a modest month at the end of the season where they've not been racing and busying themselves for 25 hours a day in a garage, then they'll think twice and bite the bullet and sell, if they can, the two-stroke system, and make the investment for 2001 season 4-stroke style.
I don't suppose the fact that he, because of the badly broken ankle he suffered at Albacete last year in the 1999 cross, shifting with his hand with a sort of pneumatic system, would that be harder to that wouldn't be harder to organise on a 4-stroke than a 2-stroke, presumably?
No, the actual levers that you need for braking and gear change are or can be very, very similar indeed. The positioning, of course, can be adjusted with linkages and so on. So no, Jack, that wouldn't be a limiting factor.
There they are then in 5th place. The British passenger Trevor Hopkinson alongside Benny Janssen. Hautzenberger and Krohn are in 6th place. 7th, Paul Muldoon and Gus Gusman. And look at the 9th place for Chris and Peter Founds. They, of course, the sons of Des Founds, and they come from Little Neston, which is a very pretty little village on the Wirral, not only a stone's throw from where I live myself. And here is Klaus Klaffenbach trying to find a way inside the number one outfit of Webbo and Woodhead. Paul Woodhead, what a remarkable chap. You wouldn't believe what a high-powered job he has. He's actually the boss of the servicing manager for the UK for Volkswagen. Can you believe that? And he chooses to play this to have fun in his time off. He says he really loves this. Stevie Abbott, well downfield. Abbott seems to be going okay, but he's made a shocking start, and he's just tucked in at the moment behind the number 11 outfit, which is the one I mixed up with Tom Hanks, and that's the Steenbergen's Blue Suzuki. In front of them you can see the number 43 outfit of the Founds brothers, so that's just on the lip of the top 10 that action is taking place. This is on the lip of the front 3, because these are the front 3, and they're just opening a gap now on Hank Simmons and Janssen Hopkinson. They're just drifting back slightly in 4th and 5th places, developing a battle all of their own. But this one, well, we all know just what happened with this one last weekend when Steve Webster lost his passenger, and there was a huge coming together down the back straight between Steinhausen and Klaffenbach. Notice that open side to the sidecar wheel. Well, that's a deliberate ploy on the part of the Steinhausen team, inspired by team owner Rolf Steinhausen, because if you have a collision on that side, it means that the whole outfit doesn't get ripped to pieces, which is what happened to the Klaffenbach outfit with the red outfit with its closed-in, faired-in sidecar wheel, had that panelling completely ripped off and had to kick it away, by which time, of course, they not only had a bare sidecar wheel, but they'd lost the contest. So there you are, a little bit of old-fashioned thinking in those naked wheels on the sidecar of the two outfits of Steinhausen and Webbo. Webster leads, Klaffenbach leads, Steinhausen. This is going to be, well, incidentally, it's not just the fact that you've got people who are teammates here and you'd think would get on with one another absolutely wonderfully, but Steinhausen, number 8, is beginning to think that maybe next year it's not the perfect situation for him having to work on Steve Webster's outfit. He now sees himself as a winner. He's proved that at Hockenheim. He proved it somewhat brutally last weekend at Assen, and he feels that he should be working on his machine rather than Steve's during the week. And now I'm a winner too. I'm not willing to sacrifice myself anymore, for example giving my engine to Steve if Steve blows up his own. So they are looking to see if they can make themselves number 1 in the Steinhausen team, and indeed if you're the boss's son, why not? And certainly his team leader Steve Webster has lost the lead right there to Klaffenbach, and the number 8 outfit of Steinhausen is there in the hunt. Can he put the pressure on his team leader? 6th place for Muldoon and Gusman in the first of the Clark Grand Prix outfits, and Abbott and Biggs making tremendous progress. They're still down in 11th place, but that was from a very, very poor start. Klaffenbach's done a 1:33.654, fastest lap of the race so far, and he's really skating that 1200 Suzuki engine outfit beautifully around this tight and twisty track. Remember, 14 corners, 7 left, 7 rights, and the number 141 outfit goes out. That's Morrissey and Restall. Morrissey and Restall go out. Dan Morrissey and Paul Randall, the second of the Clark Grand Prix Excalibur Racing Team machines. What a shame for them. Further downfield, these bright and colourful outfits enjoying a thoroughly good battle, but the man making progress is Abbott and Biggs, up to 11th place on their big 4-stroke Yamaha engine machine. Actually, Stevie Abbott has said this weekend that his ambition is to compete in Superpole and to win it. He'd like to win Superpole. He'd like to get the better of Webbo and the boys and actually win a Superpole competition sometime. Well, he hasn't managed it this weekend. He ended up in 4th place.
Well, the Grebensack Racing team, as if you've not got enough work to do preparing for qualifying in races, they had a situation whereby they had to revert back to their spare engine, the 1000cc engine only, because the 1040 outfit engine that they've managed to get back together today, yesterday, in time for today, had to have a new crank fitted to it because the crank actually split, it actually broke. And Aston took its toll on there, and so Stevie Abbott's team, they had to work through the night. Dennis Bingham, the stalwart and hard-working man of the team, or one of them I should say, managed to get the thing back together again and banged and slapped back in for qualifying yesterday. But that ambition to get into Super Bowl and ideally win Super Bowl is a burning ambition for Steve Abbott. We know he's got the talent to do it, but it's been an uphill battle, and 25 hours a day to try and get the outfit as fast as the driver.
Yes, he's a bit of a boy, isn't he, for outpacing his own outfit. You've got to hand it to a man who's 45 years young now and still capable of producing the goods in that sort of style. Talking about 45 years young, what about Adolf Harney, who is, of course, who's passenger for 17 different drivers, including Steve Webster, who's in that red outfit number 2. And threatening retirement next year. We can't allow it to happen. He's far too nice a man to have around. We'll have to talk Adolf out of it. Jörg Steinhausen and the Austrian Christian Partzer in the chair, trying to hang on to those outfits in front, and Stevie Abbott still making ground in that Grebensack racing machine. He really is hammering through the field, and there he is passing the number 15 outfit of the Van Giels brothers. Actually, the Van Giels look something close to identical twins when I spotted them in the paddock yesterday. I didn't get the opportunity to go up and say, excuse me, you guys, are you twins, or do you just happen to look extremely similar? Steve Abbott, Jamie Biggs, the Van Giels boys, and at the front, Klaus Klaffenbach, Adolf Harney, the old KM Suzuki. They are monster machines when they're stripped off, Rob. Absolutely fantastic machines. I couldn't believe just how impressive they were when they were being worked on yesterday evening. Rolf Steinhausen, he wasn't too impressed actually with the German fans, understandably clamouring for a better view of these savage outfits when they were standing naked at workbench level. Dared to impinge on his, so he told them in no certain terms where to get lost, and in what apparently was extremely rude German, but we weren't able to understand it. The fans duly fled because he's a fierce-looking man.
And who's to argue with him? Certainly not you or I, Jack. It's interesting watching through the corners the outfit of Steve Webster and Paul Woodhead. They are noticeably more stable. I've gone on about this all day, but this circuit with its second and third gear corners, fourth gear corners as well for the sidecars, really is a demanding, places emphasis on your ability to set up the stability and its ability to change direction, particularly through the chicanes on the back part of the circuit. The ones I talk about is the Bilstein, right, left flick, and then at the end of the stadium straight there's the Shell S's. The change of direction through there is all important, particularly for the outfits. And the IBAC unit that Steve Webster runs, it has focused and worked very hard towards getting the equivalent effect through with the laws of physics through the corner, and that number 1 outfit is noticeably handling its changes of direction in particular better than even the current race leaders Klaus Staffenbach and Adolf Harney. So that is good work done, good investments of time and effort, and again Jörg Steinhausen and Christian Partzer able to learn and gain experience and get their outfit set up as well, which is on the grand scale, again, a sting in the tail for Steve Webster, because that potential parting of the ways between him and the Team Steinhausen, well, you sort of look in the biscuit tin and take all the ideas and the techniques and so on, all the best bits, sweets from the trolley, shall we say, and then say, well, sling your up, Steve. We've got all the answers now. You can go and do something else next year.
Thanks for all the advice. This is the hard-working Clark Grand Prix squad of Stuart Angus Muldoon, 26-year-old Scotsman, with Chris Dipstick Gusman in the chair. And Gusman was showing how he's really throwing himself about. They're being pursued in the battle for 5th place by Tom Hanks and Paul Simons, puffing smoke out the back of that Hanks racing machine and beginning to lose a bit of ground. The men on the move with those Scottish helmets, the number 6 red and yellow outfit, and I hope that means we're not going to have a brazen display by Jack Muldoon at the end and his kilt. But the FTC Hanks racing outfit has slipped back now to 6th place. Muldoon and Gusman really making a good fist of things in the Clark Grand Prix machine, and they've had after suspension problems during practice, that number 6 machine has had its suspension setup sorted out by the Tech 2000 shock absorber people, and a gearbox problem replaced 4th, 5th and 6th gears, and finally getting the correct tyre setup. Well, after working all night, well, not quite, they finished by 10 o'clock last night, got everything together, and it's paying dividends because they've advanced to 5th place. Incidentally, Stuart and Chris both like this track, and I think that will help a lot. Rob, if you really enjoy slinging your sidecar outfit and your hook round here, you're going to have a whale of a time, aren't you, with these 14 corners packed into the lap of just over 2.2 miles.
Very much so, and one of the many techniques that sidecar racers employ, not necessarily braking that much at any given moment at all, but putting the outfit sideways in order to scrub off speed. And around this circuit, as we've said, with 2nd and 3rd gear medium gearbox corners, and 3 hairpins that go together to make up the 2.285 mile circuit, means that if you do like to get things sideways and lob it into the corner and just scrub off speed with loads and loads of brass, then yes, absolutely, Oschersleben circuit, please come here. Something interesting just to add, Jack, is that there's already been an agreement for the next 3 seasons, 2001, 2002, 2003, that there will be around in every one of those years back here at Oschersleben. So
right.
If you like it, you've got it for the next 3 years.
At Oschersleben, where the sidecars will indeed be returning for the next 3 years, and the Olympia Ryson Steinhausen outfits of Webster and York Steinhausen grimly hanging on to that sole red OKM outfit of Klaus Klaffenbach and Adolf Harney. Behind them, Benny Janssen in 4th place, just ahead of the very, very strong Muldoon Gusman outfit, who of course finished 5th last weekend in Assen after something of a coming together with the wayward Dave Molyneux and Benny Janssen. So that was a bit of after being taken out by Molyneux and Janssen while lying in 4th place, they survived after that last corner incident to place 5th. So at the moment, equaling that position here, Hanks has dropped 4 seconds behind them and will soon, well, not soon, because they're still 10 seconds ahead, because Stevie Abbott has ploughed past Hautzenberger into 7th place, but there's a 10-second gap between him and Tom Hanks. So it'll be interesting to see how Stevie Abbott sets about carving his way into that deficit.
The Tom Hanks outfit, the number 22 outfit, as you said, Jack, was just beginning to lose touch with the outfits in front. So Tom Hanks at the moment lying in 6th place now. It's fair to mention that Tom, currently leading the British Championship, he only needs another 3 points to secure the overall win in that championship. So if things aren't quite going to plan here and far away Oschersleben, then I do think that Tom, with his 1.5 hands on the British Championship title Y2K version, is just going to nurse things home and stay out of trouble, because to win a British Championship is always a prestigious thing to do.
And that is the German Hansen racing team of Andreas Veltjens and Hildebrand on their Suzuki, and well, a very nice Japanese lettering on the side. It's got a Ducati thing on the side as well. I wonder if that's got a Ducati engine in there. Anyway, it's broken down, so they are out. Incidentally, someone else out after a horrifying crash during qualifying when the welding on the handlebar snapped off in Ian Guy's hand. Ian Guy and Andy Peach, their machine turned sharp right going into the shell S's, wiped out Marshall's bunker and the 4 guys in it, who were all quite extensively injured and were airlifted off to hospital. So a very, very unpleasant accident in sidecar qualifying yesterday. And the guys, Ian Guy and Andy Peach, they escaped any particular injury. I believe Andy Peach might have got a suspected fractured wrist, but really they got off very, very lightly compared to the poor guys who were manning that marshalling shed, that marshalling point. This is Steve Abbott and Jamie Biggs making hair-raising progress on the Grevensek Racing power bike outfit, because they threw into 7th place and they're closing down as fast as possible on Tom Hanks, Paul Simons. Klavenbach's through. He's got a lead of 0.8 of a second on Webster. Webster has a lead of 0.3 of a second on Steinhausen. 26 seconds behind the leader, Benny Janssen and Trevor Hopkinson. Muldoon a second and just over a second behind them. Tom Hanks has had that 10-second advantage chopped down to 6 seconds by these guys, with 15 laps to go, with virtually half distance, 13 laps out of 28, so plenty of time to go yet for Stevie Abbott and Jamie Biggs. They've not had the best of luck with the reliability of this machine this year, Rob. They could do with some finishes, and of course they didn't contest the far distant rounds in the early stages of the year, which rather dented their chances. And at the moment, though, they're in 7th place in the championship with 55 points, just 1 point ahead of the Van Giels.
Well, Ab's always been and always going to be in a position where he's going to have to wring the neck of that what is basically a 1000cc Yamaha engine, and that sometimes has gone pop in the night, and he's had to work hard. And I did mention earlier on about the 1040 engine breaking that crank and then having to be put back together toot sweet and then put back into chassis and raced. Some drama there, Jack, kicking up the dust.
There was
worried
some
faces.
I was enjoying the worried face, actually. She was absolutely riveting, wasn't she? And I don't know which team she was supporting, but certainly it's closed back up again. We don't care. We'd like it to be us. Claffey, Webbo and Steinhausen right together, and suddenly Klavenbach's advantage is evaporated, and he's got the Steinhausen outfits right around him, swarming like silver bees round the honeypot. This is just some sort of race going on once again. Just don't let it get quite as hairy as the last lap at Assen, boys. I mean, that was a one-off. We'd rather leave it that way.
I do think, Jack, that however, has set a precedent to the lengths at which the sidecar racers will go in order to win a race. So we can never go back on the excitement, the just full contact sport that has become World Sidecar Cup. And so really we know what is at stake at this penultimate round of the championship, and we know what lengths the drivers and indeed passengers are prepared to go to get the maximum 25 points. And what are we on now? Lap 14. So after all that we've seen so far, Jack, once again we reach just half race distance. Indeed, we are poised to have an all-action, and as you quite rightly say, Jack, hopefully not quite as dramatic and damaging as Assen a week ago, but really everybody, every one of that leading trio, ideally poised and positioned to attack and take the maximum points for the race win.
Klavenbach, after that hair-raising second place last weekend, that followed 2 race wins, one in Brands Hatch and one in Spain. Before that, second beaten in the Republic of San Marino by this guy Steve Webster. And don't forget, he won in Donington Park only to have those 25 points rescinded because for some perplexing reason the same fuel he's used for 8 years was found to be illegal, and that meant that the win went to Steve Webster. So Webster not only and look at the amount of daylight that Christian Parter had underneath his blue rump then. Not only did that benefit Steve Webster, he took an extra points, of course, so it made a big difference to the championship positions at that stage. And watch this. Just when you think that Parter's doing everything he possibly can to keep that wheel down, I love the way it comes to a complete rest. I would have thought that some sort of centrifugal force would keep the thing spinning when it was in the air.
Well, it's just kissing on the brake system on that passenger wheel, so that will have just cut the momentum away from it, and it's quite dramatic to see that in that slow-mo picture, and also quite dramatic that I couldn't see anything under his left buttock that might act as an anti-abrasion device.
Absolutely nothing.
Normally a knee slider.
Stevie Abbott and Jamie Biggs, 45-year-old reckless man himself. Look at this. Stevie Abbott is right in there with 31-year-old youthful passenger Jamie Biggs, the man from the northwest of England, hanging on in the passenger seat there, or over the back wheel, and they're closing very hard now on Tom Hanks and Paul Simon. And I'm just beginning to wonder whether there's anything that Tom Hanks can do about this. Stevie Abbott from Riddings in Derbyshire, Jamie Biggs from Sorgall in Chester, outside Chester, and they're going for it down the straight and getting it fairly comfortably. So Stevie Abbott from that wretched start now through to 6th place. Klavenbach, Webster and Steinhausen have rocketed past us here down the start and finish straight. We're waiting for Benny Janssen to go through in 4th place, or whether Paul Muldoon, in fact, and Gus Gusman could have made any impression on them. Janssen goes past now, 31 seconds behind the leader. Stuart Muldoon has faded a little. He's 6 seconds down now on Benny Janssen in 5th place. And in fact, I think Stevie Abbott is going to start threatening that Clark Grand Prix outfit, because he is now within 5 seconds of them as he goes hurtling down the start and finish straight. At the front, once again, as we come into that critical moment where back markers play a part, Wim Verwijmeren and Koen Krupp of the Netherlands in their team ASG Suzuki. That is going to be the next outfit to come up. Well, no, there's going to be a bunch of them. Webbo goes one side, he can't get through. And the OKM machine at Clappy's got through, but he's got another bunch of people to sort out just in front of him, including Patrick Hanke and Mike Rocha on the Moto Patrick Suzuki, number 10. So this is really critical moments. How much time can they make up? Oh, and they've gone off into the pit. That was awfully kind of them. They turned sharp left and thought, wow, panic, let's get out of the way. And they've gone. But the number 18 outfit of Peter Schroeder and Yule Waffler and the Schroeder Racing Suzuki, they also have got to keep out of the way. And look at the anxiety in that pretty red-headed face. That's better. You look beautiful when you smile. So plenty of people to get through here. Kurt Lachty and Daniel Locker on the Team Lachty Kawasaki. The green and white machine there, number 14, next in the firing line. And look at Steinhausen trying to embarrass team leader Webster. Once again, plenty of air underneath the wheels and underneath the backsides. And look at Steinhausen, he keeps on sticking his nose out as if to say to Steve, I'm here. But really, he's got to the OKM machine has got to find a way past the Kawasaki. If he gets held up here, then he's going to be once more in the jaws. And look at that, Adolf Harney waving at the guys in case they've got a rear view mirror, as if to say, out of the way, fellas. Flicks his hand at them. I would say, stay in the way if I was you, Adolf. And indeed they do.
Well, that was Adolf Harney waving, get back in my slipstream.
Oh, was it? Yeah. Oh, good one. Okay. Very sensible man.
Wasn't to know that there's Steve Webster, very quick Steve Webster waiting to get by as well, but now he's had the treatment, been dispatched in a rearwards direction.
There was, I think, taken in by that sort of gentleman's handlebar moustache of Adolf Harney's, and he's had such cruel luck here in Klaffenbach this year, ever since the opening round in Phillip Island, when he got pitched out of the sidecar after they'd been wiped out by Webbo. So why shouldn't he wave the guy back in and say, come on fellas, just creep in behind me here, make sure you cause a bit of delay. But not long until the next victim falls. And here we are, the OKM boys, number 1, holding up a number 1. Listen, you guys, I don't want you to get overconfident. Number 1 indeed. The fastest lap of the race so far is Klaffenbach and Harney, 133.654. Klaffenbach, last lap, 134.873. Against Webbo and Steinhausen in the 135.0s, because presumably they had that little mini hold-up. So Klaffenbach has just got, well, it could almost amount to a lead, but the number 10 outfit of Patrick Hanke and Mike Rocha is ahead. Klaffenbach leads, and entertainingly, Patrick Hanke and Mike Rocha disappeared up the pit lane on one lap and reappeared to get in the way of the next lap. What are they playing at? Obviously not too concerned about the destiny of this race. Klaffenbach, of course, the point is that he can't make up enough ground on, and there he is, that's it, move over. Yes, Rob, well spotted. That movement was just get back in behind us, boys. And,
of course, I've never done anything like that in solo racing, so how would I have known?
Absolutely not. I can imagine you were nothing other than...
Yes, indeed.
You were nothing other than a clean living racer, Rob. Well, I don't doubt.
Yeah. Have you got an hour?
I know that antics in sidecars, as in solos, do present similar
brinkmanship. Yes,
brinkmanship. Yeah. That's the word I'm looking for. Brinkmanship. Thank you. And here we are coming up against yet another outfit. These outfits, they may not always be very quick, but they've got beautiful paint jobs. So it's a very superb blue outfit that's the next one on the chopping block. And look at this, Stevie Abbott, Jamie Biggs, and I wonder how close they might be getting. They've got past Muldoon. They got past Muldoon on the last lap. Benny Janssen may not be safe in 4th place. Janssen and Hopkinson, watch out, fellas, because listen to the howling tyres on that Grebensek Racing power biking Yamaha. That's a real tribute to how strong that Yamaha engine is, the way, because he must be really having to cane it. Look at that! He can see Benny Janssen ahead of him down the straight, and if the yellow outfit isn't too slow and too much in the way, and we hope it isn't, that's how much the gap has dropped. And Jamie Abbott is really on, and Stevie Abbott is really on the case. Oh, he's got to go around the outside. Take it round the blind side, boys. The number 42 outfit of Jan Beevers and Sacco Beevers, the Beevers racing team, Suzuki from the Netherlands. Get out of the way. Wow, look at that. That's fascinating, because that sidecar wheel's got air under it for a long time round there, Rob.
Yes, Stevie Abbott has got that thing absolutely 10 tenths. And I mentioned earlier on, Jack, about not a great deal of braking required on some of the corners, and the screaming, protesting tyres of a few corners ago was Steve Abbott at his absolute best, just throwing the thing into the corner. I'm not going to brake, and it will slow down if I put it in at 90 degrees to the direction I'm supposed to be travelling in. And he is really, really on a roll. It's great to see. We've talked about body language with the solo racing, but we're looking at a feast now for Steve Abbott out there on track at the moment. The wind's really in his sails. It's great to see him at his absolute best.
Jamie Biggs, the wind is very much in his leathers as well whenever he gets his head above the guardrail there. Fastest lap on lap 20. Klaus Klaffenbock's turned in a 1:33.5. Fantastic. Against 1:33.8 for Webbo, 1:33.5 for Steinhausen. Steinhausen's best lap so far, so in some ways these guys are getting quicker. Janssen 1:36.1, Abbott 1:34.4. So he's almost matching those mighty 1200cc Suzukis, and he's making up for it in sheer verve, the lack of what outright power he might have. Wow, listen to that thing, listen to the revs go. Look at the dust fly. Steve Abbott getting that sidecar wheel once again perfectly airborne. He seems to keep it consistently about 2 inches off the deck as he goes through there, Rob.
Yeah, natural ability at work, and we're talking about there's no bum protection there, but I just managed to spy the Velcro fastened on bit that was keeping Jamie Biggs's backside from well, a fate worse than death. It did touch the ground at the speed they're going at. Smiles for the Klaus Klaffenbock and Adolf Harney team there.
But 7 laps to
yes,
go, Rob,
indeed.
and they're coming up against more back. I think they're about to lap the Flurries. I think Barry and Jane Fleury from New Zealand via Bristol are about to get coming on the hammer. They might already have done so. So there's constantly going to be some sort of mobile relative chicanes to be dealt with. So Klaffenbock, no way have they got this one. Klaffenbock and Harney know that there's still a lot of hard racing to do. Or even though they've set that fastest lap, they need to do it again if they're going to break the resolve of #1 outfit of Stevie Webster and Paul Woodhead. Oh, and the Grebensack Racing outfit is out. Perhaps finally got too much for that stretched Yamaha engine. Steve Abbott and Jamie Biggs looking a little inconsolable there as they cruise in, because they really have lit the race up with that charge from the back. Benny Janssen then stays in 4th place without the cruel attention of Steve Abbott, and it will be Muldoon who comes through in 5th place, but Tom Hanks is catching back up again. How extraordinary. Tom Hanks seems to have got a second wind, and he is beginning to show some sign of getting back at Stuart Muldoon and Gus Gussman. Abbott going out of 7th place means the second OKM machine of Hautzenberger will move into 7th ahead of Van Giels and the Steenbergens. Jörg Steinhausen and Christian Partzer don't look at the moment as they're going to be able to repeat anything like the ruthless win they had last weekend in Assen, but they're staying in touch, and at the moment as they cross the finishing line, 1.3 seconds between Klaffenbock and Webbo, and 3.7 seconds between Klaffenbock and Steinhausen.
That tortured left leg of Paul Woodhead, really couldn't even stand up on it, and that he's having to put it through something like, well, 2G, is it 3G or something to that? Correct me if I'm wrong, but he's managing to stay in control on that outfit. And Steve Webster, Paul Woodhead, all credit to them. They are catching race leaders Klaus Klaffenbock and Adam Harney. So Paul Woodhead, I was getting concerned about this approaching 3/4 race distance, that just as Steve Webster is beginning to really wind up the wick and close down on the race leaders, that leg that, as you said, Jack, on the way to the Clinica Mobile. He couldn't even bend. He's having to do great things with it and stay in touch and be able to keep maximum grip on that outfit. I don't think that Paul Wedder, the same as anybody else, could withstand yet another bouncing at the speeds that they're going around here.
And you're making me wince every time he bends those legs. And look at this, Paul Woodhead, Stuart Woodhead and Gus Gusman, Stuart Muldoon and Gus Gusman can't do anything about Tom Hanks and Paul Simons. They touched them in the attempts to stay there. And the Scottish boys on the Clark Grand Prix Honda have to pick themselves back off the gravel and hope that nothing's got where it shouldn't be. And Tom Hanks is through. Is everything all right there? Let's see how it happens from this angle. Oh, pulls them up the back, boys. Wow. And that was Tom Hanks getting through almost unscathed. We hope it hasn't done any damage to either machine. They can both carry on, because Tom Hanks will have punted his way through into 5th place, or been punted through into 5th place, ahead of this outfit of Stuart Muldoon and Gus Dipstick Gusman.
Well, there was black tyre marks on the Scottish flag of the outfit then that was doing the punting, so hopefully no damage to the front of that outfit. But I was relieved to see that there wasn't a limb between the collision then that took place in front of us. I was thought it would have been more than just a little dint and a ripple in the front of the bodywork. So full contact sport yet again in Sidecar. Like I said, Jack, the precedent has been set after last week at Assen. Really, swapping paintwork is now no longer a sin or a heinous thing to do in sidecar racing.
Martin and Tony van Giels. And the second of the Janssen Racing outfits give way to Klaus Klaffenbott and Adolf Harney, but they're still in the middle between, splitting the leaders as the leaders go through, screw their way through the Shell chicane and on to the penultimate turn. I think they were trying to indicate passes on the right here, boys. I don't know whether Webbo's managed to take advantage. Yes, he does, and definitely one finger pointed the way there. This is if you go this way. And the next one is Hautzenberger coming up. Hautzenberger on the second OKM outfit gets quickly out of the way, we think, of his team boss. And it looks like he's not got in the way of either of them. Would he dare interfere? Oh, he just might. He just might have popped up with 4 laps to go. He has. He's split Klaus Klaffenbach and Steve Webster. So, well, if you can't keep up with the team leader, you can at least help him out when you're being lapped, Rob. And that will have just shaved a little bit of time off Steve Webster's efforts on the last lap. 134.66 by Klaffenbach, 134.587 for Webster. It's a tight one all the way to the flag. 40-year-old Stevie Webster, his father, of course, the legendary Mick, now 66 years old, helping out in his camp, former British sidecar grass track racing champion. But his son and heir couldn't get on with grass track racing, so he went on to tarmac instead, and he's made a pretty good fist of it as he heads for possibly his eighth World Championship. I say World Championship, they call it the World Cup these days, although apparently attempts are being made to get it restored as a full World Championship. And look at Jörg Steinhausen desperately screaming his way past, slewing his way through the back markers, trying not to lose any time. Promoter Bernd Steinhausen, who's the nephew of Rolf Steinhausen, owns Olympia Riesen, the part sponsors of the team. And he's trying desperately to get back World Championship status, and the FIM World Congress will decide in mid-October whether that is to be so. We'll do with a few more quick outfits in the midst of the field, I think, to make that worthwhile. Klaffenbach leading Webster, 1.127 second deficit. Steinhausen in. And look at this, Steinhausen really was working so hard to get through the back markers. Klaffenbach, well, the thing is that Claffey dare not lose now. He's caused such... Oh, and look at Rebel! What a great sight. That was speedboat style.
It was. No brakes, just chucked it sideways, keep the momentum going. Steve's not given up yet. He never gives up. We've got 3 laps to go. Steve Webster was 1 or a couple of tenths quicker at the end of that last lap and still closing up onto the back of Klaus Klaffenbach. So Steve's not given up yet. 3 laps to go. You can see the gaps getting closer. Webbo goes through that Bilstein S's at the back part of the circuit much quicker than Klaus Klaffenbach. That outfit is set up very well for change of direction. Steve was also saying that with the suspension unit being just right for him. He's also able to run a slightly softer compound because in the time management stakes, because the rear suspension unit is kinder on tyre wear, then he's able to run that slightly softer compound if he wanted to. This circuit here at Oschersleben is good grip, but not that abrasive, so that it's likely, hopefully for Steve Webster, to write the rear tyre off before the full 28 laps of this 2.285 mile circuit. Just the carrot on the stick there, and everybody, including us, watching that gap closing down a little bit.
Gina Wild there in the black leotard, top left, was also enjoying it. She's equally hooked on the sidecar racing. Bless her fabulous backside as she watches Webster inexorably closing down Steinhausen and Bartzer. Just set the fastest lap, 1 minute 33.309 seconds, a new fastest lap and therefore sidecar race record. And once again, absolutely almost grass track or sand racing style. I think you ought to try the grass, Steve, with style like that. Sideways on, coming out of the left-hander, and desperately trying to get on terms. He's 0.935 of a second behind, but he isn't now. He's closed even further. He did a 133.9 against Claffey's 134 dead on the last lap. So it's inch by inch stuff as they come up towards, I think they're coming up towards one of the Clark Grand Prix outfits. And once again, a little bit in the hands of how the Scotsmen choose to behave. And it's the number 6 outfit with the rubbed nose. It's the number 6 outfit of Stuart Muldoon and Gus Cussman. They are the people who've got to get out of the way next. Well, I wonder who they might favour, or will they just choose to get cleanly out the way of everybody? They may not necessarily, of course, be expecting company so suddenly, but they're going to get it any minute now. And Klaffenbach gets underneath them where he needs to go. And that was a brilliant move. He didn't hesitate at all. Stevie Webster, though, gets through well as well. And look at the tyre burning off that rear, that perhaps softer rear end, as they go into what I think might be the final lap. And that was a 134.715 for Klaffenbach, a 134.617 for Webster, a 134.664 for the third man, Jörg Steinhausen. Klaffenbach and Adolf Harney know that they've got a great silver whale for company. The question is, can they hold their nerve? Can they hold their line? Can they hold their act together? Because if they can, then they've got victory in the bag. But every time he comes out of that left-hander, what a magnificent sight, as Webbo, as if a 40-year-old from the village of Easingwold in York ought to be behaving like that in his spare time, in his leisure time. This is indeed leisure time. It is as far as Paul Woodhead's concerned. And whether I should think he's forgotten the pain. The adrenaline must be flooding through his veins now and softening the pain in that knee as they close right down on Klaffenbach and Harney. But they've got to try and find a way past. Would it be possible to do it? The thing is, of course, with a lead of 18 points in the championship, it's not absolutely vital that they get past Rob, but you get the feeling that Webbo would like to. Webbo closes down as they go through the shell chicane. He's still trying to get on terms. Now just 2 turns to go, both of them right-handers. Into the first right-hander. He remains at 1 machine's length in front. Klaffenbach goes down to the last turn. He's got to hold it together through the last turn. He's got to come out. Look at that rear tyre smoking, but it's not going to be enough. Klaffenbach wins the drag race to the finish line. He takes victory in the penultimate round. So finally, a German, or at least an Austrian victory here on German soil. Well done, Klaus Klaffenbach and Adolf Harney. You deserve that. You worked hard for it. And well done, Steve Webster and Paul Woodhead. That was a great comeback after last weekend's trauma. And in third place, Jörg Steinhausen and Christian Partzer, 6.1 seconds off the pace. And pace it certainly was, red hot and roasting. So they take an extra few points out of the 18-point lead. Benny Janssen, we're waiting to come across the line in fourth place because that's the gap between the leading 3 and the rest. Benny Janssen, 45-year-old former world sidecar motocross champion. He hasn't yet arrived. Muldoon 1 lap down is sure of 6th place, but Janssen and Hank still out on their final lap. And the crowd out the back there enjoying greeting Adolf Harney and Klaus Klaffenbach. Janssen crosses the line a split second under a minute behind the winner, Benny Janssen and Trevor Hopkinson. So we've even got half a British outfit there. And we wait for Tom Hanks and Paul Simons to come through in 5th place. Adolf and Claffey, well, after after that purposeful coming together at Assen. Perhaps there was a form of justice weighing back in their favour, Rob.
Yes, and they've closed in the championship now to just 13 points behind Steve Webster and Paul Woodhead, and as we go into Brands Hatch for the final round of this series. So that keeps things well and truly alive in the Sidecar World Cup Series, and that'll be interesting. And Jörg Steinhausen and Christian Partzer, they were really flying in the closing laps. That on lap 26, Jack, as you say, 1:33.309. So who's to say if Jörg Steinhausen hadn't got held up that little bit, he could have been in much more in contention with the leading duo. But it's going to be exciting. It's going to be good to see them at Brands Hatch and that circuit. Well, that'll sort out the men from the, well, younger men, shall we say.
And there is around 200 points for Stevie Webster. Klaffenbach 187 points, so he's that 13 tantalising points adrift as we go into the last round at Brands Hatch. And of course you'll be able to join us for that final round in Brands Hatch live.